Hedera is quietly positioning for the multi-trillion-dollar repo market. We also see Hedera's 190% growth in active daily wallets, the Reserve Bank of Australia pilot, and 15 plus applications for ETFs under review for Hedera. We got a ton of other information that we're going to go over. Tata Communications also chose Hedera. 300 carriers, 200 countries. This could save them $3 to $5 billion in annual savings. There is so much here, guys. Let's go through it. Please support the Hedera content with a like and a comment. Make sure that you let me know that you are liking this content and you want me to make more of it. I really, really appreciate you. All right, here is from the HBAR. Hedera has 31 Fortune 500 companies running its governance: Google, IBM, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, FedEx. Meanwhile, crypto Twitter is still arguing over which meme coin rugs next. 164 million daily transaction, 190% growth in daily active wallets, Reserve Bank of Australia piloting on it. 15 ETF applications under review, number 1 sentiment real world asset development ranking. The most underreported chain in crypto just keeps quietly becoming the most institutional chain in crypto. Nobody talks about HBAR except the Fortune 500 companies. Are you going to wait for the 16th application before you notice? And it says altcoin Buzzio. And also here, this is Hedera, HBAR, real world asset. Onera and the Hedera Foundation announced a strategic partnership in December 2025 focused on tokenizing real world assets. Key details include Hedera made a strategic investment in Onera, the integrated Onera's P2P and open digital asset interoperability protocol platform. This allows financial institutions, banks, broker-dealers, asset managers to issue, trade, and settle tokenized real-world assets more seamlessly. It leverages Hedera's high-throughput, low-cost public network infrastructure while connecting to institutional systems like via standards and fix an ISO 20022, plus links to mainframes and private blockchains. The integration gives Hedera developers and projects access to Onera's global distribution network for institutional customers and vice versa, enabling cross-network interoperability for tokenized assets. And also here it is, Onera. The US repo market is 12.6 trillion in daily exposures. A firm needing 1 hour of liquidity still pays for the overnight. That's not how settlement should work. Onera changes this. Borrow for exactly and as long as you need. Minute level precision, continuous settlement, live with JP Morgan. So here you go. Hedera is positioning itself as an institutional plumbing for tokenized real world assets, and via its partnership with Onera, and is a clear line of sight into a massive repo market, especially intraday tokenized repo. The US repo market handles $12.6 trillion in daily exposures, making it one of the largest sources of short-term secured funding in the entire globe. A classic pain point is the firms often need liquidity for minutes or hours, but pays for overnight loans because legacy systems and collateral movement rails are just slow and batch-based. Tokenized intraday repo platforms aim to let institutions borrow exactly for the time they need, with minute level settlement and automated delivery versus payment across ledgers. So that could be a huge deal. Obviously, they're positioning the best technologies to be used as infrastructure. And imagine how much money could be saved not having to borrow it for the entire night or day there, being able to borrow it for an hour or 30 minutes, however long you need it. I mean, that could save companies millions, if not billions of dollars combined over the next few years. Now, Hashgraph wants Hedera to be 24/7 exchange. Let me play it.
We want to ensure our DEX liquidity and access and the breadth of products that would be traded on DEXs continues to grow. And that's an area that we want to continue to invest in and support. And the reason for that is because we see the rise of hyperliquid, and now they're starting to trade S&P products. We believe the future is, crypto native products as well as tokenized real world assets, whether it's funds or commodities or securities. So we want this to be this 24/7 exchange that is accessible by all across, all products that humans and also AI agents can trade. We want to ensure our DEX liquidity.
All right, let me keep going here. There's a lot more to get to. This is from Black Sea. Hedera is building strong momentum and looks ready to break out higher. The HBAR ecosystem is massive in real-world assets, ETFs, and more. They recently teamed up with McLaren F1, and they are leading the AI race with the big lineup of AI agents. HBAR has so much potential right now for current price, just around 0.9 cents. As always, not financial advice. and always do your own research. I just spent $2,000 on Hedera, buying almost 22,000 tokens. I'm really excited to be buying Hedera under 9 cents, maybe even closer to 8 cents when you get some of those dips. I do think that's beautiful. If we go down even lower, I'll be loading up on more Hedera here and building out an even more massive bag for the future. And so Brendo, says HBAR quietly outperforming BTC in 2026. ETF inflows staying net positive every month since launch, processing real enterprise volume whilst most chains chase hype. Chainlink integration unlocking seamless cross-chain real-world asset flows. Strong technical base with governing council and 31 heavyweights. I've kept adding to my core position and continue DCAing through this consolidation. Not financial advice, but the setup screams long-term compounding as adoption builds into the next cycle. What's the biggest you see playing out this year? Drop it below. Drop it in the comments here, guys. What are you most bullish on for HBAR currently right now, as all of these things are happening at once? And it truly is pretty incredible. I'm thankful to be buying it at such low prices. Now, Tata Communications, 300 carriers, 200 countries, just chose Hedera to fix the inter-carrier settlement. This is 3 to 5 billion in annual savings on disputes, hundreds of millions of capital freed in per carrier, 30 plus day cycles to instant. This is from King Solomon. Thank you.
So see, when any two parties are trying to communicate, like you and me are chatting here, or when one user is talking to another user or sending data, right? These exchanges or transactions happen over different telecom operator networks, right? We are in different locations, different geographies. And if you extend that to even devices and IoT, this becomes a much broader network that it needs to kind of transit. Now, to facilitate this exchange of data and to monetize, operators need to then exchange billions of call data records, or CDRs, so to say, right? That to settle payments to each other, to monitor usage, and offer what user has subscribed for, and then based on the usage and rates, which are all manually driven contracts, do the billing and settlement, right? So this process, as you can see, is broken in many ways. Number one, this happens to bilateral engagement, and there are hundreds of operators around the world that need to do it. So the permutations makes it highly complex, and it typically involves third-party settlement intermediaries to do this, and this bleeds margins and takes money, right? Secondly, the process to exchange the data, generate these bills, reconcile any discrepancies is manual and hence prone to errors. So typically the industry, on the average, I would say loses close to $3 to $5 billion just in disputes, right? For example, and as you can see, there is no standardization records. There are multiple sources of data, multiple sources of truth. There are manual audits that each operator maintains, and hence the ledgers are separate, mismatched, and there is no single source of truth. So that's another problem, right? And last but not the least, because of lack of automation, operators have to deploy many resources to manage this process. It takes more than 30 days to settle, and cost any operator multi-million dollars in admin cost, to manage this. So as you can see, the problem is big, and it's ripe for a solution like blockchain.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think you start explaining and it's like, oh my God, like there is just so much, to be done. But as you kind of mentioned before too, it's so important to get it right. That's why it's so important to make sure that that the trials are very consistent and that you're, tackling things kind of from all facets. So that kind of leads me from all of your description of all of the different processes involved with how kind of telecom and settlement and reconciliation work right now. How does a technology like Hedera fit into this picture? I think the real big change in blockchain and DLT that we've started to see over the past 12 to 24 months is like solving actual problems. So how does using Hedera change how records are reconciled or how settlement happens between carriers out of kind of all that you just kind of described?
Yeah, so I think we have obviously worked very closely with the Hashgraph and the Hedera team to see how we can leverage DLT, given its tenets of trust and provenance and immutability. I think the right technology for this kind of problem, right? So one, a distributed ledger would replace a siloed system, right? So hence they will be shared immutable records of each transaction, and hence it will provide single source of truth. So that's number one benefit of having a DLT, where you can not only have a single source, but we can have proper provenance to those records, right? Now, this happens in multiple ways. Now, DLT using smart contracts, you can now automate workflows, right, between operators that typically are involved in this kind of process. And this is all based on immutable storage of contract terms, reference documents. So These are easily referenceable because they are on blockchain and they are powered by smart contracts. Next, consensus-based validation. Now, every invoice is now stamped and validated against agreed rates and consumption volumes. Whatever operators are agreeing is not manual, it's not on the system, and it's all on the distributed ledger. So this has a potential to resolve disputes by up to 90%. So typically, if they are being resolved on the blockchain, there will be less disputes, right? So that's number two. Number three, human interventions are not needed anymore because now this can be done on the system and the resolution can be avoided. It will speed up the resolution, speed up the invoicing. The week of research, back and forth, emails that happen between carriers will be eliminated, right? And everything will be as per contract terms, which are recorded, right? Not manual. And two more things. One, I think reduce working capital lock-in because since the cycle times for settlement are 30 days plus, it can potentially free up a few $100 million in liquidity for a tier one carrier, for example, right? So you can clearly see that DLT has a clear role. And I think the fact that Hedera is a next generation DLT with very high throughput, you're talking of 10,000 plus transactions per second and very low predictable transaction costs. I think this makes it suitable for millions and billions of micro settlement that need to happen between carriers on a daily basis.
All right, that was a lot of really good information. And then H Bank says we're excited to announce our partnership with Linksy XYZ to build the next generation of on-chain banking on Hedera. Together, we've applied for a Thrive grant to build HUSD, a new DeFi primitive on Hedera. HUSD will be powered by ERC 4226 standard, enabling users to earn yield on stablecoins while staying fully liquid, forming the foundation of a fully on-chain neobank. This partnership brings together two proven teams, HBank and Linksfi. Our vision, one app where users can trade, earn, and spend fully on-chain, no intermediaries. We're building a financial system where your money never sits idle. Let's bring DeFi banking back to life. And also, Pete says this lineup is incredible. Citi, DTCC, White House, Accenture, Google, Dell, McLaren, Mondelez, IIF, Blockchain Association, Link, Euroclear, Coinbase, FedEx, I think it's FedEx, BitGo, Deloitte, Arbadine, and many others. Big announcement coming. It's talking about HederaCon 2026 in Miami on May 4th. Are you guys going to that? Let me know down below. And I thought I wanted to throw in a little bit. I'm not gonna play this whole thing, but we had this whole Google AI document that dropped about having certain blockchains quantum ready, quantum safe. And I thought this was valuable to add to this conversation.
The hints and wraps comes together to form GSS. And yeah, we're excited about it. And of course, we're not done yet. We're now looking at how to make everything post-quantum. But post-quantum transition is a pretty large agenda for us. So I'm going to let Lehman talk more about that.
Yeah. So this is really exciting. We are using a kind of threshold signature that other people don't have. And if without that, for a long time, we thought we weren't going to have what you invented. We thought that we were going to have to say we're proof of stake. Each node has an amount of stake that is any number of tiny bars or HBARs, but we have to round it to a number from 1 to 5. That's what we thought for a long time we'd have to do, which is really ugly. It's not exactly proof of stake. It's rounded proof of stake. And you found a way of...
All right, the clip is really fast at 1. Just slow it down on YouTube if you need to slow it down. Go to 0.75 or a little bit less.
Solving that. And it's totally solved now. Any number of HBARs can be staked, and that is your weight in the voting. And you did it. And in 2018, we said we're going to do state proofs that would have a chain of address books, and the more years our network runs, the bigger your state proofs get. And you crunched it down to a finite size, and it will never change. It's a constant size, no matter how long. I love this. So that's what he's done with that. Post-quantum is also an important thing. Quantum computers are not going to be here this year. The world's experts don't think we're going to have giant quantum computers that can crack cryptography this year. We have them, but we don't think they're going to be big enough to do cryptography, and low enough error rates, and enough logical bits, and all that stuff, qubits, all that stuff. So what we think is that it's going to be years before we have quantum computers that can break cryptography, but there's a good chance that will happen eventually. So a lot of experts say, yeah, maybe 10 years from now we will have a quantum computer that is cryptographically relevant that could break all of our cryptography. That's bad. What about us in Hedera? Can we become post-quantum, be safe against giant quantum computers in less than the 10 years that we have maybe before we're really in danger? And yes. So we do 4 things in our cryptography. We do hashes, we do encryption, we do key agreement, we do digital signatures. Of the 4 things that we do that are cryptographic, 2 of them are already post-quantum. Our hashes are 384 bits. We are totally secure, as far as all the experts on Earth believe. And our encryption is AES 256. Everyone on Earth thinks that those are secure. Our key agreement, this is how when our computers are talking to each other, the mainnet nodes, they encrypt all the traffic going back and forth, and they have to agree on the key to use to encrypt it. Really, we don't actually need that. We'd be secure even without it. We could just send it in the clear. But it's nice to be able to encrypt it. It's one more layer of security. And for that, We need key agreement. We use TLS. When you go to a secure website, that's what keeps you secret. You know, you go to HTTPS instead of HTTP. You go into a secure website, a little lock appears on your browser or whatever. That is TLS. And we use that between our mainnet nodes when they're talking to each other. And right now, the encryption part of it is fine, but the key agreement part of it could be broken someday when we have big quantum computers. So 10 years from now, maybe that would be broken. Not a big deal, don't really need it for security, but it's kind of nice. And the same thing, when somebody submits a transaction to the network, you can do it unencrypted, or you can use TLS, and that would be breakable. Now again, no one's going to steal your money based on it, but maybe it makes front running easier if someone could break it. So it'd be good to have that be post-quantum. Good news, NIST, this is the government body that does these things, has had a contest for almost 10 years. It started 10 years ago this December, so we're almost up to the 10-year point. And they had a contest where the very top cryptographers all around the world tried to find algorithms that would survive the quantum computer revolution when it comes. And what they did is they finally agreed on algorithms for doing this. They agreed on a way of doing key agreement. ML-Kim, it's called Kyber, like Kyber crystals that make your lightsaber in Star Wars work. And it turns red if you turn to the dark side. That is what they named it. And that is now the standard. And people are putting this into TLS. TLS 1.3 is getting a new version that has this. And people are doing this. Apple just added this in November or December to iOS. For Java, OpenJDK says they're going to roll it out this summer. So this is slowly rolling out. When our libraries support it, we will change that one line of code that turns it on, and then we will have post-quantum key agreement.
Love that.
And our TLS will be post-quantum, and giant quantum computers someday will be unable to break it. And again, we don't really need it for security, but I like the belts and suspenders, the extra layer of security, and maybe it helps you a little bit with front running. We will have that. And I'm expecting that this year. I mean, that's just, as I said, OpenJDK is rolling out this summer. Apple just rolled it out a couple months ago. I think that the libraries we rely on will have the latest version of TLS sometime this year, and we'll turn it on. Easy to do, no real cost, doesn't slow things down. It's just good across the board. And then there's signatures, digital signatures. This is the big thing. For post-quantum, you need this, because when you do a transaction and you digitally sign, yes, I want to move tokens out of my account, if a big quantum computer could break that, then a big quantum computer could let the attackers steal everything you have. That would be somewhat bad. This is the big threat that every blockchain is worried about, is digital signatures. This is the real danger. We use it internally and externally. Internally, we use this for the hash graph. An event is a node, a mainnet node, creates an event and digitally signs it. And these events form the hash graph. It's what does consensus. You could cheat on consensus if you could forge these signatures. That's bad. And then we use them for our history. The record stream has lists of signatures. And so internally, we rely on signatures that can't be broken, can't be forged. Externally, as I said, every time you sign a transaction to move stuff out of your account, you're digitally signing it. If an attacker could fake your signature, they could steal everything from every account on the whole network, in every blockchain. Those are vulnerable. Right now, in Happy, in the Hedera API or the Hyro API, we have a message called key, capital K-E-Y. This is the key that you put on your account when you create an account. And it can be ED 25519. It can be XDSA. It can be a smart contract acting like a key. It can be a list of keys that 3 out of 5 are needed to sign, 15 layers deep. We have this list of different keys you can use, and they are not post-quantum. ED 25519 will be broken someday if we ever get giant quantum computers. XDSA will be broken someday if we ever get giant quantum computers. So 10 years from now, there's a good chance, not necessarily true, but a good chance those will be broken 10 years from now. So we need to fix this. What do? We're going to use one of the ones that won the contest. So Sphinx won the contest, and a digital signature is tens of kilobytes. Yeah, that's the non-starter. Also, dilithium crystals won the contest. Crystals dilithium from Star Trek, using the warp drive. That one won the contest, but it's over 2 kilobytes for the high security signatures. That's really inconvenient. If we had to, we would do it. But Falcon won the contest. It's only 1 kilobyte. Yeah, it's still bad, but it's only half as bad. We'll use Falcon. Now, the Falcon standard hasn't been published yet. It won the contest, but it hasn't been published yet. I expect it to be published any day now. We really thought it'd be by December. They said it'd be done by the end of 2025. When this draft standard is published, we will immediately use it for our internal signing of the events. It's a draft standard. Maybe it's not secure, but we'll just sign it both ways, the new way and the old way. So if you break the new way, who cares? We still have the old way protecting us. And if someday somebody builds a quantum computer, well, the old way is broken, but we have the new way to protect us. So we will do this immediately. It isn't something we have to support forever. If the standard changes by the time it's final, we'll just use it for a little while. And so we will have that. And then a year from now, the final will come out, and we'll just use the final. We won't even do the old signatures. For external, we will change the accounts to allow a new key type of Falcon. As soon as the final one comes out, about a year from now, we will allow that for users. Then we would encourage all of you, if you are building wallets, to nag your users and say, hey, you haven't upgraded to the new keys yet. Push this button, and you will upgrade to the new keys. You don't need a new account. It just rotates keys. It's great. And you don't even have to have a new 24 words. You're still protected by your old 24 words. It'll be very painless. So if you are developing software that manages accounts, please do that. The final version should come out a year from now, and we will implement it, and it will be something users can then upgrade. I'm excited about this. And then we'll be completely post-quantum.
Wow, lots of stuff happening on Hedera to make sure that you are kept completely safe, as well as all of the institutions that are using Hedera for everyday, these Fortune 500 companies and everyone else building. So glad to see how seriously that they're taking. It sounds like they're more than halfway there to even position ourselves. Quantum computers still are years away, but Hedera is ready today. Love that. Let me know what you guys think about all of this content. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Crypto Sensei. I will see you in the next video. Aloha.